All right, guys, thank you for joining me today. Appreciate it. Looking at a stupid ad on YouTube. There's a lot of dumbass ads on there, by the way. Anyway, yeah, thank you for joining me. We're going to make this pretty quick, try to keep it within a 20-minute window. So let's get going. Now, there is a lot of rumor about, what's that guy's name? Trump and his health. So that's starting to, I guess, circulate a little more. And the other day, or rather today or this morning when I read it, supposedly he had a lump under his jacket. That's probably some kind of machinery. It's interesting how they're focusing on his health. Like, Biden was clearly sick, but Trump, anytime something goes wrong, they're like, look at his nail bed, look at this, look at that, his skin's off. It's like they're all over him now just to see if they could disqualify him as president of the United States, or rather, replace him as president of the United States, though it doesn't matter. You have J.D. Vance who's going to take over his place anyway. So they seem to be like, full steam ahead. We're trying to uh, create an illness for him, though he's old, and if he is sick, I get it, but it's wild. Anyway, Ozark, Mr. Landfill, Dobie, thank you for the 5x5. Cowboy, thank you for the 5x5. Nancy, Pimpin, Eric, Nowhere, thank you for the 5x5. Strawberry, Base, thank you for the 5x5. Jeep Dog, thank you for the 5x5. Let's see. All right, so appreciate the 5x5, guys. Thank you. So, and, it's just whatever. And Kimberly, Incognito, Teddy, 1 second after, thank you for the 5x5. And, and people are like, I mean, yeah, listen, a sick Donald Trump. I mean, at this point, I don't know what we're getting from him. I mean, a lot of people, are like, he's better than Biden, but starting to allow National Guards on the streets of Chicago as well. And the Chicago mayor, I think, I don't even know if the governor stepped in, but the mayor's like wants to fight this. I don't, like I said, it's not a good idea. It's just a bad it's setting a bad precedence, is what it's doing. But everything else seems to be copacetic, but we shall see. Russia and China had that big summit that came out of nowhere. Obviously, the United States wasn't involved, but it was a BRIC summit, I guess. Though they didn't say that, but it looked like all of the BRIC countries were up there on this stage, and they seemed to be like having a good time, that's what stood out to me when I watched those world leaders, if you will, on stage with Xi Jinping and Putin. I noticed that they looked relaxed and having fun. So I don't know if they were drugged or it was staged or they were genuinely having fun, but it was definitely what you call it. Yeah, no quarters. I know that. Thank you. But like I tell people all the time, the not all the time, but recently, the National Guard thing in New York City, in cities are bad, especially on the orders of a president. If you don't have a problem with it, if you don't have a problem with it, then you are definitely, I hate to say this, but a bootlicker, because there's no reason to have National Guards in the streets of anybody's city. There are a million and one things you can do to quell crime, and National Guardsmen are not it. Especially National Guardsmen that are looking to get their gun off. You'll see. It's never ever a good idea. And if any other president like Biden or Kamala Harris would have did this or suggested this, the same people would have been up in arms, would have been screaming and yelling about this shit. But it's fine that Trump's doing it. Again, you can't be a constitutionalist and then agree with this shit. I'll tell you that much right now. Anyway, moving forward, Japanese discovered an easier way, or a way, excuse me, I wouldn't say easier. I would say they created a way to erase traumatic memories without harming the brain. What does this sound like? What movie does this sound like? Because in the movie, they injected happy thoughts into your brain or happy memories into your brain. This sounds exactly like this movie. I'm going to wait for one of you guys to put it in the chat before I go on to saying that what the movie is. But anyway, that sounds like an extremely bad idea. Removing traumatic memories from the brain, or from your mind, rather, excuse me, is just a bad idea. Traumatic memories help you or build you. Cowboy, thank you. Traumatic memories help you with, again, with this fucking ad. I got an ad over the chat. It's crazy. Ozark, there you go. Firefly, yep. I don't know. I just think it's a bad idea. And trauma builds the person. Not even in my opinion. It's a fact. It builds you. Now, yes, trauma can destroy you, but trauma can also make you a better, hardened person. So, I don't know if this is actually a good idea for the human personality, but who knows? I mean, granted, listen, if you had some horrible shit happen to you, like, you know, you were getting railed by your father or some shit like that, I could see you wanting to forget that. But there are other things you should remember because it makes you who you are. Blocking out memory is a bad idea, especially when the human brain has the capacity to remember things that have been erased from the brain. So we got to wait and see where this is going to go. Doctors in Australia developed the world's first bionic eye with fully restored vision in blind people. Now, the image that they held of the bionic eye, I'm hoping it was the trick of the lens, because if that is the actual size of the eye, you're going to look like a bug-eyed person. Which I can see that as the first, I guess, round or versions of bionic eyes being that big, but this thing was fucking big. The person was holding it like a baseball. The human eye is like probably about like that big, maybe a little smaller, right? And it's just a small portion we see sticking out. That's not the whole of it, obviously. But this thing they held was huge, so we got to wait and see what that looks like. But yeah, apparently it can restore vision. A Cleveland Clinic study suggests, or rather prove, that the flu shot doesn't work and leads to higher risk of having said illness. So, yeah, we already knew that. And I knew a lot of people who took that version of the arm ticket for the flu, and everybody who's taken it because they thought they were protecting themselves against it has gotten it. And so a lot of people stopped taking it because they're like, I was trying to protect myself from getting the flu, and now I got the flu because I took some shit I didn't need. Vision, what's going on? Yeah, bionic. Listen, you see somebody walking around all eyes wide. First of all, it doesn't look natural, so that's the first part. It looks weird, the bionic eye. But if that's the same eye that the doctor was holding up, that's going to be in somebody's head. I wonder. Also, moving right along, BlackRock is suing United Health for giving too much care to patients. And they did this after their CEO was murdered, last year? Right? So BlackRock is actually suing. They're doing it in a clever way, I might add. They're suing United Health for authorizing too much health care. It's what it is. Of course they would. I wasn't even surprised when I read that. And when I saw that, I was like, come on, man. Oh, no. Sorry. Sometimes I get these breaking news things, and it's not exactly breaking news, but there's a video footage. Oh. No, so it's one of those stories. February 18th, 2023, Morgan K. 27 and her dog Huck, short for Huckleberry, were found dead in a Cube Smart self-contained storage unit in Utah. Apparently, the boyfriend locked them in. Alexander Paul Wardell, then 30, locked them inside, trapped them when a fire broke out, according to it being the probable cause of her demise. Unconscious, Harris woke up inside with flames erupting all around her. Apparently, she burned alive. That is a shitty way to go. Burning alive around your storage gear. You know what I don't understand, right? Okay, so anyway, authorities at the time alleged that her boyfriend, Alexander Paul Warren, then 30, locked them inside, trapped them when a fire broke out. Wardell was arrested and booked in Salt Lake County Jail on suspicions of kidnapping and negligent homicide. However, after a lengthy investigation in May 2024, Salt Lake County District Attorney Office announced no charges were filed against Wardell given the current evidence at the time. Calling the incident tragic, Gill said his office turned every stone to make sure Mrs. Harris' memory was served with our best efforts. So he is charged with, okay, so now, as of August 28th, he is being charged with felony murder, domestic violence, kidnapping, domestic violence, aggravated animal cruelty, and other crimes. Now, I don't understand when somebody's being charged with somebody's murder, that they throw the animal in there or the unborn child in there. That is not going to matter. Not even a little. I mean, I guess maybe some fucking jurors will find issue with it, but that's like the least of their problems, him murdering a dog. But they threw that animal cruelty charge in there for what? That shit gets knocked off. They focus on the two heavier charges, which are murder, domestic violence, and kidnapping, domestic violence. Animal cruelty or aggravated animal cruelty is fucking, who gives a shit? And listen, I love my dog, but the bulk of the charge is the human being. Anyway, Wardell told police that when he left, there was no candle or any fire source burning. According to the declaration, the fire originated underneath and to the left of Harris, who was unconscious and sitting in a folding plastic lawn chair with metal support. As she sat unconscious, her buttocks and left side caught fire, according to the probable cause declaration, which noted that a conscious person would have tried to evade the pain of fire, which she did not. After some time, it continues, she regained consciousness and stood up in the unit and breathed in, the fury hot air, which burned her upper airway and larynx. As flames engulfed the unit, Harris went over to her dog, laid on the ground, trying to desperately get some fresh air to breathe underneath the storage unit door. She was found dead on the ground by about a foot from the door from smoke inhalation and thermal injuries. That's heat burns is what it was. What about arson? Valley Parks. You would think arson would be one of the charges, but no. Not at all. As part of the Attorney General's investigation, the search warrant was executed to search the duffel bag belonging to Wardell. This was 2 years ago that this happened. Why would you still be holding on to your shit? I don't understand that. Anyway. So, in it, the investigation found that an extra-large blue button-down long-sleeve shirt wadded up in the center of the XL clothing. Blood stains and burn marks appeared to be on the shirt. A rapid DNA test revealed that the tested red-brown stains to be blood, and the DNA in the blood matched Harris. According to the charging document, a burnt cardboard box was located near where Harris' chair had been. Inside the box was an intact candlestick, a lighter, and was found on Harris's body. Interesting. That's a shit way to die, by the way. Anyway, burning alive is absolutely the worst way to die, if you ask me. All right, guys, so moving right along from that, breaking news thing. I did talk about ChatGPT scanning users, so every time you use ChatGPT, it scans for your prompts, right? It scans through your prompts, excuse me. So if you put a prompt in about how to commit a murder, for example, right? If you put that in there, it scans it and it continues to scan the entire account, making sure you're not trying to commit a crime, which I think again is bullshit. But who? It's not my business, so nor do I give a fuck. Anyway, moving right along. Now, MIT study finds that ChatGPT is making people dumber. 83% of ChatGPT users cannot recall what they just wrote, which I guess that makes sense. But I also write this down before I speak it in. Because the other thing is, the reason why people can't recall, now I don't know if that would necessarily make you dumber. The reason why 83% of ChatGPT users can't recall what they wrote is because they are speaking into ChatGPT. So once you're speaking into it, you could barely recall when he's speaking to anything, right? So if you're speaking in that ChatGPT, you go ChatGPT, I like you to find out the results of, or ChatGPT, I would like you to map out the best route for a photography trip at Yellowstone. You're not going to remember that. Now, I remember when I do shit like that just because I can, but most people can't. But anyway, MIT is trying to say that you are dumber for using ChatGPT. Basically what it is. A new study out of MIT is raising serious questions about what heavy ChatGPT users might be doing, ChatGPT use might be doing to our brain. Researchers found that most people who rely on the AI tool for writing are struggling to stay mentally engaged, and many can't even remember what they wrote minutes later. The paper titled Your Brain on ChatGPT, Accumulating a Cognitive Debt When Using AI Assistants for Essay Writing Tasks, track how the human brain behaves when it leans too heavily on AI. Now, to be fair, a lot of these college kids can't remember their fucking names or what class they're taking. So this study is, I wouldn't hold any weight on it. A lot of these kids are using ChatGPT to write essays, and that is becoming a problem. As this has been a problem for a few years, with ChatGPT now in full swing, kids are using this shit to write out an essay. Now, what a lot of kids are doing are copying, pasting the essay, and then changing some verbiage around so it fits their vernacular, the student's vernacular. So it's making it harder for the teacher to know whether or not they're using ChatGPT. And it should be outlawed in school, but there's no real way as of now. So, I don't know. Maybe schools can scan kids' computers, not having ChatGPT on it. I don't know, but obviously they can't do that with their phone. But if they're giving kids computers and iPads, they should absolutely scan for the usage of ChatGPT, so these kids at the very least can't use it off their iPads or their computer. Anyway, what did the MIT study find? All right, MIT researchers found how using large language model like ChatGPT affects the brain and writing behavior. Participants were split into 3 groups, one using large language model, another using a search engine, and the third wrote without any tools, meaning they probably went to libraries and shit. Over 4 sessions, they completed essays tasks while their brain's activity were being tracked with an EEG. Key findings. Brain-only participants had the strongest neurological activity and best memory recall. Large language model users, or ChatGPT users, showed the weakest brain connectivity and struggled to remember their own writing. When LMM, or large language model users, switched to writing without AI in the final session, their brain engagement dropped even further. No shit. People who started without the tools and then used large language models showed better cognitive performance than full-time AI users. It's probably why we will be able to remember what we wrote, because we grew up decades without ChatGPT. That makes sense. And large language model users report the lowest sense of ownership over their writing. That's interesting. All right. So, warning signs. The number, the numbers of are hard to ignore. Brain activity fell off the cliff. ChatGPT users showed significantly less neurological connectivity or neural connectivity, especially in alpha and theta waves, signals tied to memory, creativity, and deep thinking. In fact, the number of active neural connections dropped from 79 to 42%. Holy shit. Now, this should also point out the fact that a lot of these college kids who are having these neurological problems are also smoking weed, which I think adds into this as well. Because weed makes you lazy, so you're always taking a shortcut when you're smoking those kind of drugs. I would like to say weed only, but these kids are mixing a lot of shit in their weed. All right, memory all but vanished. A staggering 83% of ChatGPT users could not recall what they wrote minutes earlier. In contrast, just 10% of the non-AI or Google search users had similar recall issues. Just 10% in contrast. Teachers called the AI-assisted essay soulless and bland. Many users copied and pasted the AI's output without editing, resulting in flat, generic writing. So this is where teachers can probably pick up on this and give them a fucking D, which they probably are if the teachers can tell that their writing is bland and soulless. AI dependency came at a cost. When the ChatGPT group had to write without it, their brains showed signs of cognitive fatigue. They struggled to engage and had weaker performance overall. People felt disconnected with their own work. Of course you would. Users had relied on ChatGPT reported lowest satisfaction with what they produce and felt less ownership over their writing. Now, whenever I use ChatGPT, I'll use it for shit like, mapping out a trip, which ChatGPT mapping a trip out for you for like photography is awesome. Because I didn't know where to visit, but now I know where to go. So now that I know where to go, now I'm writing the order of which I'm going on these trips. So now my brain kicks in, if you will, and started to plan out my own trip so I can remember the waterfalls, streams, and places I want to go to do my trip. Now, again, ChatGPT for your trip, absolutely great. ChatGPT to create or write a book, absolutely not. All right. What does this mean for school and workplace? The implication goes beyond academia. Students who rely heavily on AI might see their writing skills deteriorate. We're already seeing that with kids in school who can't write. I mean, I had to buy a tracing book for my kids because they were writing like retards. I looked at their handwriting. I'm like, how the fuck is this okay? So I had to buy them. Like writing books because schools are no longer teaching this. On the other hand, my daughter, who is raised in the same era, her fucking handwriting is like, impeccable. So, interesting shit to watch, especially when it comes to the handwriting. Technology today is limiting kids' learning, and it's going to continue to limit kids' learning. In China right now, kids are being, from the ages of, I think up to the 6th grade, or maybe the 5th grade, kids are learning to use AI to study and research. And I don't think the Chinese are hip to this study just yet. But imagine you're going to have an army of dumb kids. And the Chinese are pretty smart and leveled with this shit. They are cutting the kids off after the 6th grade, but I don't know what the teaching is going to look like there. So one startup founder put it bluntly: AI isn't making us more productive, it's making us cognitively bankrupt. That's a hyperbole. The study found that over just 4 months, ChatGPT users saw consistent dips in memory, engagement, and originality, with a recent UK survey showing 88% of students are now using AI for assessments. The trend is clearly growing. Again, bad idea. Now, of course, they put this in here. It's not all bad when used the right way. To be clear, a study doesn't say ChatGPT is inherently harmful, when the brain-only participants got to use it in the fourth season, their brains actively spiked. That group already had a strong foundation. That's the brain-only participant, the kids that only use their brains to do the research. They saw their cognitive, or rather their brain activity, spike when using AI. So I guess they're suggesting that we use AI, we use brain-only research first and then use AI. All right. Where are we? We are at the 26-minute mark. Okay, so last story, if you will, or not technically a story, but so oceanographers found out why the Bermuda Triangle had got its scary, mysterious title. So for those that don't know, mysterious disappearance in the Bermuda Triangle can easily be explained, according to oceanographers now, who've done a study suggesting that the Bermuda Triangle would often have 2 to 3 systems converging on that spot. Some people say that there's a magnetic pull for those storms. Other people say it's just a coincidence, which it's not a coincidence. But supposedly, all the storms now converge on this one spot, and the storms that converged on this spot sank ships, boats, and even planes. Not sank planes, but took planes out of the sky. When you had violent storms converging on each other, like we saw in the movie The Perfect Storm, Mark Wahlberg and George Clooney, that storm, or those storms, were violent enough to take planes and break boats in half. And they are theorizing that waves ending up to be 10 meters or 20 meters and even up to 30 meters high, were snapping boats in two. So that is like the gist of the study, if you will. There's a lot more to it, but they said that that's another reason why boats went around the Bermuda Triangle. And not because of aliens and portals, though a lot of people thought that at the time. Boats actively went around the Bermuda Triangle, and the Bermuda Triangle being this. Right? So that is a large area to go around. And if there is storms in that region, now they're going around it. But if there's no storms in the region, they're going right through it. Because it's a shorter cut. Imagine going around the Bermuda Triangle because you're scared of it. But that makes more sense. Listen, I even believed the portal UFO thing at one point. But that is no longer the case right now. It is just storms that converge on each other, and it's turns out to be a natural cause and not an alien abduction or a portal opening up and a ship just fucking, right into it. So anyway. Sarita, it's all right that you're busy. It is what it is. I am going to go off the air now anyway. Yeah. So all these years, people, and there was theory a few years ago, probably 10 years ago, that it was definitely storms, right? That there was storm anomalies that they might not have seen or knew about that were happening in the time. Because every disappearance of ships happened to be that, except for one boat that went into heavy fog and disappeared. And there was no storm system at the time. So there was also a plane that disappeared over the Bermuda Triangle when there was no storms. So there are those 2 or 3 cases where boats and planes disappeared when there was no storms in sight. But they happened to enter the Bermuda Triangle and then they were gone. So those are the cases they need to focus on. So all right, I get the storm convergence thing, and they're calling them monster storms or superstorms or something of that nature. There's a name they're calling them, or storm collide. Maybe that's what it is, right? Or collide, however you want to call it. But yeah, it's multiple storms or 2 to 3 storms converging in one area, and it happens to be the Bermuda Triangle. Who knows? But that sounds a little more reasonable. Though, again, the boats and planes that disappeared with no storm in the region, you got to explain that shit. And again, they disappeared over the Bermuda Triangle. Anyway, guys, that being said, I'm going off the air. Thank you for joining me this morning. I will see a lot of you guys Friday night. I will not have a Thursday night live stream because I am now working tomorrow night. All right, guys, other than that, thank you for watching.